A waitress fleeing her toxic ex hid behind a stranger at a crowded train station, desperately whispering, "Please don't let him see me." The man stepped between them without hesitation, and her ex backed down from just 3 words. "She's with me?" What she didn't know. The stranger who just became her shield was a mafia boss trying to leave his dangerous world behind, and protecting her would pull them both into a war neither expected. The rain hit the platform like bullets. Emma Clark's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she gripped the handle of her battered suitcase. Everything she owned was crammed inside, 3 years of her life reduced to 20 pounds of clothing and broken dreams. The departure board flickered. Chicago to anywhere, departing in 6 minutes. 6 minutes until freedom. She pulled her hood lower, trying to disappear into the crowd of late-night travelers. Her ribs ached where Ryan had shoved her into the kitchen counter 2 days ago. The bruise on her jaw was hidden under makeup, but the one on her wrist, dark purple fingerprints where he'd grabbed her, was impossible to cover. Just get on the train. Just breathe. Just. Emma, her blood turned to ice.
No. No, no, no.
Ryan's voice cut through the rain and the crowd like a knife. She turned slowly, and there he was, soaked from the rain, eyes wild, standing 30 feet away near the ticket kiosk. He'd found her. Of course he'd found her. He always found her. "Baby, wait." Ryan started pushing through the crowd toward her. "Just talk to me for 1 second. Emma's legs locked. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The crowd was too thick to run. The train wasn't here yet. Security was nowhere in sight. She was trapped. Ryan was getting closer, his face shifting from that fake gentle expression he used in public to something darker. She knew that look. That was the look he had right before A man stepped into her line of sight. He was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair and a perfectly tailored black coat that probably cost more than her entire suitcase. He stood next to one of the steel pillars, checking his watch with a kind of patience that came from never having to hurry for anyone. Emma made a choice. She rushed behind him, pressing herself against the pillar, using his frame to block Ryan's view. Her voice came out as a desperate whisper. "Please don't let him see me." The stranger turned his head slightly. His eyes were dark gray, the color of storm clouds, and when they met hers, something shifted in them. Not pity. Something else. Recognition, maybe. Like he understood exactly what she was running from. He didn't ask questions. He simply turned back around and adjusted his stance, his broad shoulders completely blocking her from view. When Ryan broke through the crowd, slightly out of breath, the stranger's expression remained perfectly calm. "Excuse me, have you seen?" Ryan started, then stopped. His eyes had found the stranger, really found him, and something in Ryan's face changed. Fear, maybe, or caution. "Can I help you?" the stranger asked. His voice was smooth, controlled, but there was steel underneath it. "I'm looking for my girlfriend," Ryan said, trying to peer around him. "Brown hair, about this tall, she's wearing." "I'm not in the habit of tracking women for strangers," the man's voice dropped lower. "Especially ones who look like they're hunting." Ryan's face flushed red. "That's none of your damn business." "Emma." He tried to step around the stranger. The man moved, not aggressively, but with the kind of presence that made Ryan stop dead. He placed one hand in his pocket, casual as anything, but something about the gesture made the hair on Emma's neck stand up. "She's with me," the stranger said quietly. 3 words, but the way he said them made them sound like a command from God himself. Ryan's confidence cracked. He looked at the stranger, really looked at him, taking in the expensive coat, the confident posture, the way everyone in the immediate vicinity seemed to unconsciously give this man space. Man, I don't want any trouble," Ryan said, his voice going higher. "But that's The lady's with me," the stranger repeated, his tone dropping another degree. "Which means this conversation is over. I suggest you catch whatever train you're here for and forget you saw anything tonight." Ryan opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Emma had never seen him back down from anyone. But now, standing in front of this stranger, Ryan looked small, powerless. This isn't over, Ryan muttered, but he was already backing away. You hear me, Em? This isn't. The train, the stranger said to Ryan, not loud, but with enough authority that Ryan actually flinched.
Now.
Ryan turned and disappeared into the crowd. Emma slumped against the pillar, her legs nearly giving out. The stranger turned to face her fully for the first time. Up close, she could see he was probably in his mid-30s, with a scar along his jawline and eyes that had seen too much. Thank you, she managed. I don't know how to, I can't. You're shaking, he observed. When's the last time you ate? The question caught her off guard. This morning? Maybe yesterday morning. I'm not sure. He studied her for a long moment, and Emma felt weirdly exposed, like he could see every bruise, every sleepless night, every time she'd convinced herself that Ryan would change. I'm Luca, he said finally.
Luca Romano.
Emma Clark, she tried to smile, but it came out wrong. I should probably catch my train. Thank you again for... Where are you going? Anywhere. Literally anywhere that's not here. Luca's expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but something softer than the ice he'd shown Ryan. That's not a plan. That's desperation. Desperation's all I've got right now. The announcement system crackled to life. The Chicago train was delayed by 30 minutes due to mechanical issues. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. Of course it was delayed. He'll come back, she whispered. He always comes back. Luca pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then looked at her. I have a car. I can take you somewhere safe for tonight, a hotel, separate rooms, completely your choice. Tomorrow, when you're thinking clearly, you can decide where you actually want to go. Emma should say no. Should tell this stranger, no matter how much he'd just helped her, that she couldn't trust anyone. But she was so tired, so scared. And something about the way Luca looked at her, with respect instead of possession, made her want to trust him. Why would you help me? She asked. You don't even know me? Luca's jaw tightened. Let's just say I know what it's like to be trapped by someone who's supposed to care about you. And I know what happens when nobody steps in. A black Mercedes pulled up to the curb outside the station. A man in a dark suit got out and opened the back door, standing at attention like a soldier. Emma stared. That's your car? That's my driver, Luca corrected. The car comes with him. So what do you say, Emma Clark? Do you want to spend the night running, or do you want to spend it safe? She looked back at the platform, at the crowd, half expecting to see Ryan's face in it. Then she looked at Luca, at this stranger who had stepped between her and danger without hesitation. Safe, she said quietly. I want to be safe. Luca gestured toward the car. Then let's get you out of the rain. As they walked toward the Mercedes, Emma noticed something odd. The driver who'd opened the door, he had a small earpiece in his ear. And when another man in a similar suit appeared near the entrance, positioning himself to watch the station, she realized something. These weren't just drivers or bodyguards. These were people who dealt with danger professionally. She glanced at Luca as he held the car door open for her. What do you do, Mr. Romano? His smile was slight, mysterious. I solve problems, Emma. I solve problems that other people can't. She should ask more questions. Should demand to know exactly who this man was before getting into his car. But the rain was still falling, and Ryan was somewhere in that station, and this stranger had just offered her something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Safety. Emma got in the car. As they pulled away from the station, she caught a glimpse of Ryan through the rain-streaked window, standing under an awning, phone pressed to his ear, anger radiating from every line of his body. She turned away and met Luca's eyes across the back seat. You're not going to hurt me, are you? She asked quietly. No, Emma, Luca said, and something in his voice made her believe him. I'm going to make sure nobody hurts you again. The car slid into the Chicago traffic, leaving the station, and Emma's old life, behind in the rain. What Emma didn't know was that in helping her, she'd just become connected to one of the most powerful men in Chicago's underworld. And what Luca didn't know was that in saving her, he'd just painted a target on both their backs. The Vallone family had eyes everywhere. And they'd just started watching. The Grandview Hotel rose into the Chicago skyline like a monument to wealth Emma had only seen in movies. The lobby dripped with crystal chandeliers and marble floors so polished she could see her reflection, wet, exhausted, and completely out of place. Luca walked beside her with the ease of someone who belonged everywhere. The moment they entered, the staff snapped to attention. "Mr. Romano," the concierge said, appearing instantly at Luca's side. His smile was respectful but tight, and Emma noticed the slight tremor in his hands. "We weren't expecting you tonight, sir. Shall I prepare the penthouse?" "Already done, Marco," Luca said smoothly. "And have some food sent up." "Something warm," he glanced at Emma. "Are you vegetarian? Any allergies?" Emma shook her head, too overwhelmed to speak. The concierge, Marco, nodded rapidly and disappeared toward the elevators, pulling out his phone. "This way," Luca said gently, guiding Emma toward a private elevator with a gold panel that required a key card. As they waited, Emma noticed something strange. The other guests in the lobby kept their distance. Not obviously, they didn't stare or whisper, but there was an invisible circle around Luca that nobody crossed, like people instinctively knew to give him space. The elevator doors opened, and they stepped inside. Luca pressed the button for the top floor. "I really should find a hostel," Emma said, her voice small. "You've done so much already." "I can't." Luca turned to face her, and his eyes were surprisingly kind. "Look at me."
She did.
"When's the last time you felt safe?" The question hit her like a physical blow. Emma's throat tightened. I don't remember." "Then let me give you one night. One night where you can sleep without fear. Tomorrow, you can go anywhere you want. But tonight, just rest." The elevator opened directly into the penthouse suite. Emma stepped out and froze. The space was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city, modern furniture that probably cost more than her yearly salary, and art on the walls that looked like it belonged in museums. To the left and right, she could see doorways leading to separate bedrooms. "The guest room is on the right," Luca said, reading her mind. "Private bathroom, locks from the inside. I'll be on the left side. There's a living room and kitchen between us, so you'll have complete privacy." Emma walked slowly into the living room, drawn to the massive windows. The rain was still falling, streaking down the glass in rivers. From up here, the city looked beautiful instead of threatening. She caught sight of her reflection, soaked clothes, smudged makeup, hollow eyes. "I look like a drowned rat," she muttered. "You look like someone who just escaped," Luca said quietly. He'd moved to the kitchen and was pouring 2 glasses of water. "There's no shame in that." A knock at the door made Emma jump. Luca crossed to it smoothly, checking through the peephole before opening it. 2 men in hotel uniforms wheeled in carts laden with covered dishes. But these weren't regular hotel workers. Emma could tell by the way they moved, by the quick glance they gave the room, by the subtle nod they gave Luca. Security, disguised as staff. After they left, Luca gestured to the dining table. "Hungry." Emma realized she was starving. They sat, and Luca uncovered the dishes: pasta, bread, soup, a salad. Simple, warm food that made Emma's stomach growl embarrassingly loud. "Eat," Luca said with a small smile. "You don't have to be polite here." Emma didn't need to be told twice. She ate quickly at first, then forced herself to slow down as her stomach adjusted. Luca ate quietly across from her, never staring, never making her feel watched. It was oddly comfortable. "Can I ask you something?" Emma said between bites. "Anything." "Why is everyone so," she searched for the word, "scared of you?" Luca's fork paused halfway to his mouth. He set it down carefully. "What makes you think they're scared?" The concierge's hands were shaking. "The staff in the lobby avoided looking at you directly. Your driver and those men, they're not regular security, are they?" Luca leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You're observant." "I had to be. Ryan taught me to read people's moods to stay safe." Something dark crossed Luca's face. "I'm not Ryan." "I know." But you didn't answer my question. Luca was quiet for a long moment, and Emma thought he might not answer at all. Finally, he spoke. I come from a complicated family, Emma.
We have
Influence in this city. Business connections that run deep. Some of those connections make people nervous. What kind of business? The kind that keeps people safe. The kind that solves problems when the police can't, or won't. He met her eyes. I'm not going to lie to you. My world isn't simple, and it isn't always legal. But I've never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it, and I've never hurt anyone weaker than me. Emma should be terrified. Should grab her suitcase and run. But instead, she thought about how Luca had stepped between her and Ryan without hesitation. How he'd gotten her passport back somehow. How he'd offered her safety without asking for anything in return. Are you a criminal? She asked bluntly. Luca's laugh was short and genuine. That's the most direct anyone's been with me in years, he considered. I live in gray areas, Emma. But I'm trying to move toward the light. Does that make sense? Not really. But I think I trust you anyway, she paused. Which is probably stupid. Maybe. Or maybe you're a good judge of character. They finished eating in companionable silence. When Emma's eyes started to droop, Luca stood. Come on. Let me show you the guest room. The bedroom was beautiful. A king-sized bed with soft white linens, an ensuite bathroom with a rainfall shower, and a door that locked from the inside just as Luca had promised. On the bed, Emma found a new set of clothes, simple pajamas and a change of clothes for tomorrow, all in her size. How did you? I texted my assistant while you were looking at the view, Luca explained. She's good at details. If anything doesn't fit, just let me know. Emma touched the soft fabric. Nobody had taken care of her like this in years. Thank you, Luca. For everything. Get some rest, he turned to leave, then paused at the door. Emma? That lock works both ways. I can't get in, and you can't get out without unlocking it. You're safe here. I promise. After he left, Emma locked the door and leaned against it, listening to his footsteps retreat. She showered, washing away days of fear and dirt, then put on the pajamas and climbed into the most comfortable bed she'd ever felt. Through the window, she could see the city lights twinkling through the rain. For the first time in 3 years, Emma Clark fell asleep without fear. What she didn't know was that while she slept, Luca made 3 phone calls. The first was to his head of security. Put a detail on Emma Clark, 24/7. If Ryan Mitchell comes within 100 feet of her, I want to know. The second was to his lawyer. I need a restraining order drafted by morning. The third was to someone Emma would never know about, a man who specialized in making problems disappear. The ex-boyfriend, Luca said quietly. Find out everything. Where he works, who he knows, what he's planning. I want to know before he makes his next move. Outside the hotel, a black sedan pulled into a parking space across the street. Inside, a man with a camera took photos of the entrance. The Vallones were already watching. And Ryan Mitchell, sitting in a dive bar across town, was making calls of his own. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, pulling Emma from the deepest sleep she'd had in months. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The train station, Ryan's face, Luca's intervention, the penthouse. She sat up slowly, half expecting the door to burst open, half expecting to find it had all been a dream. But no, the luxurious room was real, the soft pajamas were real, and when she checked the door, the lock was still engaged from the inside. She'd slept through the entire night.
No nightmares.
No waking up to check if Ryan had found her. Emma unlocked the door and stepped into the living room cautiously. It was empty, but the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. On the dining table, she found a handwritten note beside a covered tray. Emma, didn't want to wake you. There's breakfast under the cover and coffee in the pot. I had to step out for a meeting, but you're safe here. The suite is yours as long as you need it. My number is below if you need anything. And I mean anything.
LR.
Below the note was a phone number and a key card to the suite. Emma lifted the cover to find fresh croissants, fruit, yogurt, and scrambled eggs that were somehow still warm. Her eyes stung with unexpected tears. When was the last time someone had made sure she was fed? Cared for? When had she last felt like she mattered? She ate slowly, savoring every bite, then found her cleaned and dried clothes folded neatly on the chair. Someone had come in while she slept and taken care of everything. It should have felt invasive, but instead, it felt like being wrapped in safety. After showering and dressing, Emma decided to go for a walk. She needed air, needed to think about what came next. The hotel staff smiled politely as she passed through the lobby, but she noticed something odd. A man in a dark suit reading a newspaper near the entrance. He looked up briefly as she passed, then went back to his paper. Outside, Chicago was alive with morning energy. Emma walked 3 blocks, breathing in freedom, before she noticed the black sedan. It was parked across the street, moving slowly whenever she moved, always keeping the same distance. Her heart rate spiked. Ryan. It had to be Ryan. She turned down a side street quickly, then another, trying to lose the car. But when she glanced back, it was still there. Emma's breath came faster. She'd been stupid to leave the hotel. Stupid to think one night of safety meant she was actually free. She ducked into a coffee shop, pulled out the phone Luca had left, and dialed his number with shaking fingers. He answered on the first ring. Emma? Are you all right? There's a car following me, she said quietly, trying not to panic. A black sedan. I tried to lose it, but... Emma, stop. Luca's voice was calm, steady. That's my car. My security team. They're protecting you, not threatening you. Emma froze. What? I should have told you this morning, but I didn't want to scare you. After last night, I wasn't sure if your ex would try to find you. So I had a team keep watch. They're there to make sure you're safe. You're having me followed? Emma wasn't sure if she should be angry or relieved. I'm having you protected, Luca corrected gently. There's a difference. If you want me to call them off, I will.
Right now.
Your choice. Emma looked out the coffee shop window. The sedan was parked at the curb, and now that she knew what to look for, she could see the driver was the same professional-looking man from the hotel lobby. He wasn't watching her creepily. He was scanning the street, looking for threats. Emma? Luca's voice brought her back. Talk to me. How did you know where I was? The key card I gave you has a tracker. Again, if you want me to stop, I will. But I need to know you're safe. Emma should be furious. Should feel violated. But instead, she remembered Ryan's face at the station, remembered 3 years of always looking over her shoulder, remembered what it felt like to never be safe. Keep them there, she said quietly. Please. She could hear the relief in Luca's voice. Okay. The man in the car is Victor. He's one of my best. If anything happens, anything at all, he'll get to you in seconds. But Emma, I promise you, he won't interfere with your life. He's just insurance. Insurance against what? Luca was quiet for a moment. Against men like your ex who don't understand the word no. Against anyone who might want to hurt you. Against the world being as cruel as it's been to you. Emma's throat tightened. Where are you right now? Heading back to the hotel. I should be there in 20 minutes. Will you come back? I have something for you. What kind of something? The kind that gives you power back. Trust me. Emma looked out at Victor in the sedan. He wasn't even looking at the coffee shop. He was watching the street, watching for danger. Protecting her. I'll be there, she said. 25 minutes later, Emma walked back into the penthouse to find Luca standing by the windows, holding a manila envelope. He turned when she entered, and his expression was serious. Before I give you this, he said, I need to tell you something. Last night after you went to sleep, I made some calls. I hope you won't be angry, but I couldn't just leave you vulnerable. What did you do? Luca handed her the envelope. Open it. Inside, Emma found her passport. The one Ryan had been holding hostage for 6 months, the one he'd used to keep her trapped in Chicago. Beneath it was a restraining order, already filed with the court, with Ryan's name on it. How did you? Emma's voice broke. Your ex's apartment has terrible locks. Luca said simply. And I have a very good lawyer. The restraining order was filed this morning. If Ryan comes within 500 feet of you, he goes to jail. No questions, no excuses. Emma stared at the documents in her hands. Her passport, her freedom, legal protection, things she'd been trying to get for months, things Ryan had blocked at every turn, and this man, this stranger, had gotten them for her in one night. Why? She whispered. Why would you do all this for me? Luca stepped closer, but didn't touch her. Because I know what it's like to be trapped by someone who claims to love you. Because I have the power to help, and I'm tired of watching people suffer when I could do something about it. And because he paused. Because when you looked at me last night, you didn't see a monster. You saw someone who could help. That's rare in my world, Emma. That's worth protecting. Emma looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. Just promise me something. What? Promise me you'll stop hiding. Stop running. You're safe now. Start believing it. Emma clutched the passport to her chest like a lifeline. For 3 years, she'd been a prisoner. And now, because of a stranger who stepped between her and danger, she was free. But freedom, she was about to learn, came with its own complications. Because across town, Ryan Mitchell was sitting in a dingy bar, staring at his phone. On the screen was a photo, Emma getting into Luca Romano's car at the train station. And sitting across from him was a man in an expensive suit who smiled like a shark. So, Matteo Vallone said, tell me everything you know about Luca Romano's new friend. The bar smelled like stale beer and broken dreams. Ryan Mitchell sat in a corner booth, nursing his third whiskey, his phone screen glowing in the dim light. The photo taunted him. Emma, getting into that expensive car, protected by that bastard who'd humiliated him at the station. His jaw still ached from where he'd punched the wall after getting home that night. Emma was his. 3 years he'd invested in her, 3 years of shaping her into what he needed, and now some rich asshole thought he could just take her. You look like someone stole your favorite toy. Ryan looked up sharply. The man sliding into the booth across from him wore a suit that probably cost $5,000. His hair was salt and pepper, slicked back, and his smile didn't reach his cold blue eyes. 2 men in dark jackets stood behind him, hands clasped in front of them like Secret Service agents. Who the hell are you? Ryan asked. Matteo Vallone, the man extended his hand. Ryan hesitated, then shook it. Vallone's grip was crushing. I'm someone who takes an interest in Luca Romano's activities. And you, Mr. Mitchell, seem to have stumbled into something interesting. Ryan's blood ran cold. Huh. How do you know my name? I know lots of things. I know you filed a police report about a stolen vehicle last week. Emma Clark's name was on it. I know you called in sick to work for 3 days straight. I know you've been searching for your ex-girlfriend. Vallone leaned back, his smile widening. And I know that 2 nights ago, Luca Romano personally intervened in your business at the train station. You've been following me? Following you?
No.
But I have people who watch Romano, and you happen to get caught in that net. Vallone gestured to the bartender, who immediately brought over a bottle of expensive scotch and 2 glasses. The bartender's hands shook slightly as he poured. Ryan watched this, confused. What do you want? Information. Tell me about the girl. Everything. How you met her, why she ran, what she means to Romano. She doesn't mean anything to him, Ryan said bitterly.
He just met her that night.
Probably felt like playing hero. Luca Romano doesn't play hero for strangers, Mr. Mitchell. He's not that kind of man. If he intervened, there's a reason. If he's protecting her, there's a reason. Vallone sipped his scotch. So tell me, what makes Emma Clark special?
Ryan thought about it.
What'd make Emma special? She wasn't particularly beautiful, not like the models Ryan saw on Instagram. She wasn't rich or connected. She was just
Emma.
Quiet, easy to control, always apologizing even when things weren't her fault. She's nobody, Ryan finally said. Just a waitress who thought she was too good for me. Yet Romano gave her his personal protection. Took her to the Grandview Hotel, his hotel, by the way. He owns it. Valogne's eyes glittered. He put her in the penthouse suite. The same suite he uses for only his most important guests. So either your ex-girlfriend is secretly a princess, or Romano is developing a weakness. The word hung in the air like poison. A weakness? Ryan repeated. Luca Romano has been untouchable for years. He's careful, calculated, never gets personally involved with anyone outside his inner circle. It makes him very difficult to. Valogne paused, choosing his words carefully. Negotiate with. But if he's developed an attachment to this girl, well, that changes things. Ryan's mind was racing. What kind of things? Valogne leaned forward. Let me explain something about power, Mr. Mitchell. Men like Romano, they're not afraid of bullets or threats. They're surrounded by security. They have lawyers and politicians in their pockets. They're practically untouchable. But everyone has a weakness. Everyone has something they care about more than their own safety. You think Emma is his weakness? I think she could be. And I think you could help me confirm that. Valogne pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. On the screen were photos. Emma leaving the hotel that morning. Emma walking into a coffee shop. Emma looking over her shoulder at the black sedan. Ryan's hands clenched into fists. You've been watching her? Watching them both. Romano has her under 24-hour protection. That's not standard procedure for a casual acquaintance, Mr. Mitchell. That's something you do for someone you care about. So, what do you want from me? Valogne's smile grew sharper. Information. Details about Emma Clark. Where she worked, who her friends are, her routines, her habits. Everything that could help us get close to her. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Get close to her? What are you planning? Nothing that concerns you yet. Right now, I just need to know if she's truly important to Romano. And you're going to help me find out. Valogne pushed a thick envelope across the table. That's $5,000. Consider it a down payment for your cooperation. Ryan stared at the envelope. $5,000 would solve a lot of problems. Would let him hire the lawyer he needed to fight that bogus restraining order. Would let him get Emma back where she belonged. And if I help you? Ryan asked slowly. What do I get? Besides the money? You get Romano out of the picture. You get your girlfriend back. You get revenge on the man who humiliated you. Valogne's voice dropped lower. Think about it, Mr. Mitchell. Romano stepped between you and Emma like you were nothing. Made you look weak in front of her. Made you back down like a coward. Don't you want to make him pay for that? Ryan did. God, he really did. The rage that had been building since that night at the station burned hotter. What do you need to know? Ryan asked. For the next hour, Ryan told Matteo Valogne everything. About how Emma loved old bookstores and coffee shops with outdoor seating. About how she always wanted to help people, thought about going back to school for social work. About her routine, her habits, the places she felt safe. He told Valogne about the bruises he'd left, about the fights, about how Emma had finally found the courage to pack her bags while he was at work. He told him about the stolen car report he'd filed as revenge, about the friends he'd scared away from her, about the job he'd gotten her fired from. Valogne listened to it all with the patience of a spider building a web. You're a real piece of work, aren't you? Valogne said when Ryan finished, but there was admiration in his voice. No wonder she ran. She'll come back, Ryan said defensively. Once Romano loses interest, she'll realize she needs me. Of course she will. Valogne stood, buttoning his jacket. We'll be in touch, Mr. Mitchell.
Keep your phone on.
And do me a favor, stay away from Emma for now. If Romano's men see you sniffing around, it'll complicate things. Wait, Ryan said as Valogne turned to leave. What are you going to do to her? Valogne looked back, and his smile was absolutely terrifying. Whatever it takes to hurt Luca Romano. Your ex-girlfriend just became the most valuable piece on the chessboard, Mr. Mitchell. And in chess, sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to win the game. He walked out, his bodyguards following like shadows. Ryan sat alone in the booth, the envelope of money in front of him, and for the first time since Emma had left, he felt a flicker of something that might have been regret. But it was too late now. The wheels were already in motion. Outside the bar, Matteo Vallone climbed into his black SUV. His phone rang immediately. Did he take the bait? A voice asked. Like a starving fish, Matteo replied. The ex-boyfriend is greedy, angry, and stupid. Perfect combination. Get her people in place. I want to know everywhere Emma Clark goes, everyone she talks to, every move Romano makes to protect her. And then we take her. Romano thinks his money and power make him untouchable? We'll show him what happens when you try to go legitimate in the city. The Romanos built their empire on blood. It's time Luca remembered that. Matteo hung up and stared out at the Chicago skyline. The game was beginning. And Emma Clark had no idea she'd just become the prize. 4 days had passed since the train station. 4 days of Emma sleeping without nightmares, eating without her stomach in knots, breathing without fear. The penthouse had become a sanctuary she was almost afraid to leave. Almost. On the 5th morning, Emma decided she needed to start rebuilding her life. She couldn't hide in luxury forever, no matter how safe it felt. She needed a job, an apartment of her own, a plan for the future. She was making coffee when someone knocked on the penthouse door. Emma froze. Luca had left an hour ago for a business meeting. Nobody else had the key card to access this floor. Miss Clark. A woman's voice came through the door. I'm Sophia, Mr. Romano's assistant. I have something for you. Emma checked the peephole and saw a professional-looking woman in her 30s holding a manila envelope. Cautiously, she opened the door. Sophia smiled warmly. Good morning. Mr. Romano asked me to deliver this personally. She handed over the envelope. If you need anything at all, my card is inside. Have a wonderful day. She left before Emma could respond. Inside the envelope, Emma found her driver's license, the one Ryan had also been holding hostage. But there was something else, a letter from her previous employer, dated 6 months ago, apologizing for the misunderstanding that led to her termination and offering her job back with a raise and benefits. Emma's hands trembled as she read it. Ryan had gotten her fired by calling her boss repeatedly, making threats, causing scenes at her workplace until they had no choice but to let her go. She'd been blacklisted, unable to get references, trapped. And now, somehow, Luca had fixed it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Luca. Check your email. Emma opened her laptop. Another gift from Luca that had appeared in the penthouse 2 days ago, and found an email from a property management company. They were offering her an apartment, already approved, first and last month's rent paid, in a safe neighborhood with security. She stared at the screen, emotions warring inside her. Gratitude, confusion, unease. This was too much. Nobody did this much for a stranger unless they wanted something in return. Emma grabbed her phone and called Luca. Did you get everything? He answered, sounding pleased. Luca, what is this? The license, the job offer, the apartment. How did you do all this? I made some calls. Your old boss was reasonable once I explained the situation. The apartment is owned by one of my companies, and it was vacant anyway. It's yours if you want it. If I want it? Emma's voice rose. Luca, you're paying for everything. You've given me clothes, food, legal protection, and now a job and an apartment? What do you want from me? The line went quiet for a moment. Can I come see you? This conversation should happen in person. 20 minutes later, Luca walked into the penthouse. He looked tired, Emma noticed, dark circles under his eyes, his usually perfect hair slightly disheveled. He'd been working while she'd been sleeping peacefully. Sit down, Emma said, her voice gentler. Talk to me. The truth this time. Luca sat across from her, his hands clasped between his knees. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. The truth is complicated, he began. I'm smart enough to handle complicated. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Yes, you are. He took a deep breath. My family name is Romano. In Chicago, that name carries weight and history. My father built an empire in this city, but it wasn't the kind of empire people talk about proudly. It was built on fear, on control, on things that kept him powerful but cost him his soul. Emma listened, her heart pounding. When he died 6 years ago, I inherited everything. The businesses, the connections, the enemies. I was 28 years old and suddenly responsible for an organization that he paused, choosing his words carefully. That operated outside the law. That hurt people. That made money in ways I'm not proud of. The Mafia, Emma said quietly. Luca met her eyes.
Yes.
Though we don't use that word. We call it the family business, but you're right. That's what it is. What it was. What it was. For the past 2 years, I've been trying to change things. Selling off the illegal operations, investing in legitimate businesses, cutting ties with the people who made their money through violence and exploitation. It's not easy. There are families who see my transition as weakness, as betrayal. The Vallones are one of them. Emma's stomach tightened at the unfamiliar name. Who are the Vallones? Rivals. They've been trying to take over Romano territory for years. My father kept them in check through fear and force. I've been trying to find another way. Luca's jaw tightened. But they don't respect diplomacy. They see kindness as weakness. And what does this have to do with me? Luca stood and walked to the window, his back to her. When I helped you at the station, I wasn't thinking about consequences. I just saw someone who needed help, and I had the power to provide it. But my world doesn't work that way. Every action has ripples. Every person I protect becomes a target. Emma's blood ran cold. You think the Vallones know about me? I think they know about everyone connected to me. And I think, he turned to face her. I think your ex might have made contact with them. What? Why would Ryan? But even as she said it, Emma knew. Ryan's rage, his humiliation, his need for revenge. Of course he'd reach out to Luca's enemies if he thought it would hurt him. I can't prove it yet, Luca continued. But my people have been watching him. He met with someone at a bar 3 days ago. We're still identifying who, but the meeting lasted over an hour. Money exchanged hands. Emma sank into the chair, her mind reeling. So, what does that mean for me? Luca crossed the room and knelt in front of her, his eyes intense. It means I need to keep you safe. The apartment, the job, the security, it's not about control, Emma. It's about protection. I put you in danger by helping you, and now I have a responsibility to make sure nothing happens to you. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do, his voice was fierce. You trusted me when you had no reason to. You looked at me and saw someone who could help instead of someone to fear. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what that means to someone like me? Emma reached out and touched his face, her fingers tracing the scar on his jaw. Who are you really, Luca Romano? Someone who's done things he regrets, Luca said softly. Someone who's hurt people to protect his family. Someone who's trying to be better than his father, but doesn't always know how. Someone who, he paused, his hand covering hers. Someone who sees something good in you and wants to protect it, even if it costs me everything. Why me? Because you're what I'm fighting for, Emma. You're proof that good people exist, that there's something worth protecting in this world. When I look at you, I see what my life could have been if I'd had different choices. You make me want to be the man you think I am. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can handle being part of your world. You don't have to be part of it. You just have to let me keep you safe from it. Luca squeezed her hand. Take the apartment.
Take the job.
Build the life you deserve. And let me handle the shadows so they don't reach you. And if I say no, if I just walk away from all of this, Luca's expression turned sad. Then I'll have Victor drive you wherever you want to go, and I'll make sure the Vallones lose interest in you. You'll be free. But Emma, he hesitated. I need you to understand something. I don't do this for people. I don't open my home. I don't share my resources. I don't put myself at risk for strangers. But you're not a stranger anymore. Somewhere between that train station and right now, you became someone I care about. And I don't know how to not protect the people I care about. Emma looked into his eyes and saw the truth there, the loneliness, the burden of power, the desperate need to be something more than his father's legacy. She saw a man trapped by his past trying to build a bridge to a better future. And she saw her own reflection in his struggle. I'll take the apartment, she said quietly. And the job. But Luca? No more secrets. If I'm in danger, I need to know. If something's happening, tell me. I can't be protected if I'm kept in the dark. Deal, Luca stood, pulling her up with him. I promise you, Emma. No more secrets. It was a promise he would come to regret. Because 3 blocks away, in an unmarked van, Matteo Vallone's men were photographing every window of the penthouse, mapping every entrance and exit. The trap was being set. And Emma had just agreed to walk right into it. The apartment above Rizzo's restaurant was nothing like Emma had expected. She'd imagined something cold and impersonal, a safe house, not a home. Instead, she found exposed brick walls warmed by afternoon sunlight, hardwood floors that creaked comfortably underfoot, and a kitchen with copper pots hanging above a gas stove that made her fingers itch to cook. You like it? Lucas stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching her explore. It's perfect, Emma breathed, running her hand along the kitchen counter. But Luca, this is too much. This place must cost. The building is mine, has been for 15 years. My grandmother used to live in this apartment before she passed. It's been empty since he walked to the window overlooking the street. She would have liked you. She always said the best way to judge a person's character is to watch how they treat people who can't do anything for them. Emma joined him at the window. And how do I treat people? At the hotel, you thanked every staff member by name. You noticed the cleaning woman had a bad knee and held the door for her. You're kind, Emma. Genuinely kind. That's rare. Below them, Rizzo's was coming alive for the dinner rush. Emma could see people laughing through the windows, families sharing meals, the warm glow of community. Who runs the restaurant? She asked.
Rosa Rizzo.
She's been with my family for 30 years. Started as my grandmother's housekeeper, ended up becoming family. Lucas smiled, a real smile that made him look younger. She's going to love you. Fair warning, she'll try to feed you constantly and set you up with every single Italian man she knows. Even you? The question slipped out before Emma could stop it. Luca's eyes met hers, and the air between them shifted. Especially me, he said quietly. Rose has been telling me I work too much and need a nice girl since I was 16. Before Emma could respond, someone knocked sharply on the door. A woman's voice called out in heavily accented English. Luca Romano, I know you're up there. Open this door. Luca sighed but couldn't hide his smile. That's Rosa. He opened the door, and a tiny Italian woman in her 60s burst in, immediately swatting Luca's arm with a wooden spoon she'd apparently brought just for this purpose. You put a girl in your nana's apartment and don't tell me? What kind of manners is this? She turned to Emma, her expression transforming instantly from scolding to delighted.
Oh, Bella.
Come here, let me look at you. Rosa pulled Emma into a hug that smelled like garlic and tomatoes and comfort. When she pulled back, her eyes were sharp, assessing. Skinny. Too skinny. That boy been feeding you properly? I've been feeding her fine, Luca protested. Hotel food.
Bah. Rosa waved dismissively.
Tonight, you both come downstairs. I make you real food. Pasta, chicken marsala, tiramisu. You eat until you can't move. Emma found herself laughing, actually laughing for the first time in longer than she could remember. That sounds wonderful. Of course it does. I'm wonderful, Rosa patted Emma's cheek. You need anything you come to me, yes? Luca is a good boy, but he's still a boy. Men don't understand things. Women, we understand everything. After Rosa left, promising to have dinner ready by 7, Emma turned to Luca. She's amazing. She's a force of nature. Also, she's not wrong about the food. Rosa's cooking will change your life. Over the next 2 weeks, a routine developed. Emma started her new job at a nonprofit helping domestic violence survivors, something Luca had quietly arranged, knowing it would give her purpose. The work was hard but healing, helping other women find the courage she'd found. Most evenings, Luca appeared at her door around 7. Sometimes they went down to Rizzo's, where Rosa fussed over them and the regular customers treated Emma like she'd always been there. Other times, they stayed in her apartment, cooking together or just talking. Luca never assumed, never pushed. He always sat on the opposite end of the couch, always asked permission before touching her, even casually. It made Emma feel safe in a way she'd never experienced. Ryan had been all possession and control. Luca was all patience and respect. One evening, Emma was attempting to make pasta from scratch, a recipe Rosa had insisted she learn, when she cut her finger on the knife. "Damn it," she muttered, watching blood well up. Luca was at her side instantly, gently taking her hand and running it under cold water. His touch was careful, professional, but Emma felt electricity shoot up her arm. "You need a bandage," he said, already reaching for the first aid kit he'd stocked in her apartment. "It's just a cut. It's your hand. You need your hands." He wrapped the bandage with surprising skill.
There. Try to keep it dry tonight.
Emma looked up at him. They were standing close, closer than they usually stood, and she could see the flecks of gold in his gray eyes. "Where did you learn first aid?" she asked softly. "My father believed in being prepared for anything. I learned field medicine when I was 15." His jaw tightened. "In my world, knowing how to stop bleeding was a survival skill." "Your world," Emma repeated. "Do you still live in that world?" "Parts of it. The legitimate parts." Luca's thumb brushed across her knuckles, just above the bandage. "But I'm trying to leave the rest behind. You make me want to try harder."
Luca.
"I know. Too soon. Too complicated. You just got out of something terrible, and He stepped back, creating space between them. "I'm trying to do the right thing here, Emma. Trying to be patient. But I need you to know, when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here." Emma's heart was pounding. She should be terrified. Should be running from this man with his dangerous past and complicated present. But instead, she felt drawn to him like she'd never been drawn to anyone. "What if I'm ready now?" she whispered. Luca's eyes darkened. "Emma, you don't know what you're saying. 3 weeks ago, you were running from a man who hurt you. You need time to heal, to figure out who you are without someone controlling you. I won't be another person who takes advantage of your vulnerability." "You think I'm vulnerable? I think you're healing. There's a difference." He cupped her face gently. "And I think you deserve someone who waits until you're whole before asking you to be part of something. Even something good." Emma leaned into his touch. "Has anyone ever told you that you're nothing like what people expect?" "What do people expect?" "A monster. A criminal. Someone cold and dangerous." "I am dangerous, Emma. Don't forget that. I've done things that would horrify you. Hurt people who deserved it, and some who probably didn't. I'm not a good man trying to be better. I'm a bad man trying to be good. There's a difference." "I don't believe that." "Then you don't know me as well as you think." Emma grabbed his hand, holding it firmly.
"So let me know you."
"Stop pushing me away, because you think you're protecting me from yourself. I'm stronger than you think, Luca Romano. Strong enough to decide for myself who's worth trusting." For a long moment, they stood there, something unspoken building between them. Then Luca leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead, gentle, reverent, full of promise. "Dinner," he said, his voice rough. "Let's finish dinner before Rosa sends someone to check on us." They cooked together, stealing glances, hands brushing accidentally on purpose. Emma found herself smiling so much her cheeks hurt. When Luca laughed at one of her stories, a full, genuine laugh that transformed his entire face, Emma realized something terrifying. She was falling for him. For the man who'd saved her. The man who gave her safety and asked for nothing in return. The man who was trying so hard to be better than his past. What Emma didn't know was that outside her building, a photographer sat in a parked car, taking pictures through her window. Pictures of her laughing, cooking, touching Luca's arm. Pictures that would be on Matteo Vallone's desk by morning. The subject line of the email: confirmed. Romano is attached. The trap was ready. They just needed to decide when to spring it. Emma couldn't stop smiling as she walked down 5th Street. The morning was crisp and bright, The kind of Chicago autumn day that made everything feel possible. She'd just finished her shift at the nonprofit, and for the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. "I'm heading to Morrison's Books," she told Rosa that morning over coffee. They finally reopened after the renovation. "I've been dying to check it out." Rosa had beamed. "Get yourself something nice. You deserve it, Bella." Emma hadn't noticed the kitchen porter, a quiet man named Danny, who'd started working at Rizzo's 2 weeks ago, listening from the corner. Hadn't seen him pull out his phone the moment she left. Morrison's Books was a 3-story haven of leather and paper smells, with overstuffed chairs and cats that wandered between the shelves. Emma lost herself in the fiction section, running her fingers along spines, pulling out books at random. This was freedom. The ability to spend an afternoon browsing without someone texting her every 5 minutes, demanding to know where she was and when she'd be home. She found a worn copy of Jane Eyre and settled into a window seat to flip through it. Outside, the street was busy with lunch crowds and tourists. Emma didn't notice the black sedan parked across the street. Didn't see the camera lens pointed at her through the window. Inside the sedan, Ryan Mitchell sat in the passenger seat, his hands clenched into fists. "That's her," he said unnecessarily. The man beside him, one of Mateo's enforcers, was already taking photos. "She looks happy," the enforcer observed, clicking away. "Romano's been good to her." Ryan's jaw tightened. Emma did look happy, relaxed in a way she'd never been with him. She was wearing new clothes, nice ones, and her hair was longer, healthier. Even from across the street, he could see she'd gained weight, the gaunt look of stress replaced by something that looked dangerously like contentment. "Just take the pictures," Ryan muttered. "Already done." "Vallone's gonna love these." The enforcer lowered the camera and glanced at Ryan. "You sure you want to be part of this? Once we move on her, there's no going back." "I'm sure," but Ryan's voice wavered slightly. "Because once Vallone has what he needs, he's not going to care about your feelings for the girl. You understand that, right? This isn't about getting your girlfriend back. This is about hurting Romano." I said I'm sure. The enforcer shrugged. "Your funeral." Emma stayed in the bookstore for another hour, completely unaware she was being watched. She bought 3 books, including the Jane Eyre, and chatted with the owner about their poetry section. When she finally left, walking back toward Rizzo's with her bag of books, she felt lighter than she had in years. She didn't see Ryan watching her from the sedan. Didn't see the hatred and regret warring in his eyes. Across town, Luca Romano sat in his office at Romano Holdings, reviewing legitimate business contracts. His phone buzzed with a text from Victor. "Package incoming. Secure channel." Luca's stomach dropped. Secure channel meant trouble. His encrypted email pinged a moment later. The subject line read, "A gift from the Vallones." Luca opened it. The first photo showed Emma in the bookstore, smiling, peaceful, vulnerable. The second showed her laughing at something the shop owner said. The third was a close-up of her face through the window, so clear Luca could count her eyelashes. Below the photos, the message.
Romano.
Pretty girl. Looks fragile. Looks important. We've been watching her for weeks now. Know her routine, her habits, where she works, where she sleeps. Know that you've been playing house with her like some lovesick teenager. Here's the deal. You transfer ownership of your dock operations and distribution routes to us within 48 hours, or Emma Clark disappears. We'll make it hurt, Luca. We'll make sure you find her eventually, in pieces, so you never forget what happens when you try to go soft in our world. You have until Friday midnight. Don't test us. Luca's hand crushed the edge of his desk. The wood cracked under his grip. His second-in-command, Marco, appeared in the doorway. "Boss?" "I heard." He saw Luca's face and stopped. "What happened?" "The Vallones have Emma in their sights." Luca's voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "They're threatening to take her if I don't give them the docks." Marco's expression darkened. "The docks are worth $40 million a year. If we give them up, we lose our foothold in shipping, our leverage with the unions, everything your father built." I don't give a damn about the docs. Luca's control snapped. He stood, knocking his chair backward. They're threatening Emma. They're threatening to hurt her, Marco. To kill her and make me watch. Then we move her. Tonight. Put her somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find. They've been watching her for weeks. They know her patterns, her work, her apartment. They have someone inside Rizzo's feeding them information. Luca's mind was racing. If we move her now, they'll know we're spooked. They'll move faster. So, what do? Luca stared at the photos on his screen. Emma's smile, captured in high definition. Emma, who'd trusted him to keep her safe. Emma, who was in danger because of him. We don't give them the docs, he said finally. And we don't let them take her. We end this.
Permanently.
How? Luca's eyes were cold, calculating. This was the man his father had trained, the strategist who'd survived in a world of predators by being smarter, faster, more ruthless than anyone else. The Vallones think I've gone soft. Think I'm too legitimate now to fight dirty. They're about to learn they're wrong, he turned to Marco. Call Detective Morrison. Tell her I need a meeting. Tonight. Morrison? Boss, she's a cop. You want to bring law enforcement into this. The Vallones have been operating with impunity for years because they're careful. They don't leave evidence, they don't make mistakes. But they just made one. They threatened Emma in writing. That's conspiracy to kidnap, conspiracy to commit murder. If Morrison has enough evidence, she can move on them before they move on Emma. And you're going to give her that evidence. I'm going to give her everything. Every file, every recording, every piece of dirt I have on the Vallone organization. Their trafficking routes, their money laundering operations, the politicians on their payroll. Everything. Luca's jaw set. I was trying to go legitimate slowly, carefully. But they just forced my hand. I'm burning it all down, Marco. The entire underworld. And the Vallones are going down first. Marco stared at his boss. You're going nuclear. You understand that? Every family in Chicago will know you cooperated with the cops. You'll be marked forever. I don't care. Luca looked at Emma's photo again. Let them come. Let them all come. I've spent my whole life being what my father wanted, what the families expected, what the city needed. For once, I'm going to be what I choose. And I choose to keep Emma safe, whatever it costs.
Marco nodded slowly.
Your father would have gone to war. My father is dead. And his way of doing things died with him. Luca closed the laptop. Get Morrison. Get our lawyers. And get every piece of intelligence we have on Vallone operations. We have 48 hours to take down an empire. And Emma? Keep Victor's team on her. Don't tell her about the threat yet. If she knows she's in danger, she'll try to leave to protect me. I need her exactly where she is until we can neutralize the threat. Luca grabbed his coat. And Marco? If anything happens to her, if they get within 10 feet of her, I want to know immediately. I don't care what meeting I'm in or what I'm doing. Immediately. Yes, boss. As Luca left his office, his phone rang. Emma's name lit up the screen. He answered, forcing his voice to sound normal.
Hey.
How was the bookstore? Amazing. I found a first edition Jane Eyre. Well, not a first edition, but early enough to be exciting. I'm heading back to the apartment now. Want to come over for dinner? I'm attempting Rose's chicken recipe. Luca closed his eyes, memorizing the sound of her happiness. I'd love that. Give me an hour. Perfect. See you soon. After she hung up, Luca stood in the hallway of his building, struggling to control his rage. The Vallones had made a critical mistake. They thought Emma was his weakness. They were right. But what they didn't understand was that a man's weakness could also be his greatest strength. And Luca Romano would burn the entire city down before he let anyone hurt her. The war had begun. And the Vallones had no idea what was coming. Emma hummed as she walked home from the grocery store, bags swinging at her sides. She'd bought ingredients for Rose's famous chicken marsala and was determined to get it right this time. Luca would be there in an hour, and she wanted everything to be perfect. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the street. Emma was 3 blocks from Rizzo's when she noticed the white van idling at the corner, the same van that had been parked there yesterday. A flicker of unease passed through her, but she pushed it away. This was a busy neighborhood. Vans parked on streets all the time. She was pulling out her keys when she heard footsteps behind her. Fast, purposeful. Emma turned, but it was too late. A hand clamped over her mouth, chemical-soaked cloth pressed against her nose. She tried to scream, tried to fight, but her limbs went heavy almost immediately. The grocery bags fell from her hands, oranges rolling across the sidewalk. "Got her," a voice said. "Move." Emma's vision blurred. She saw Victor, Luca's security guard, running toward her from his car, his hand reaching for his weapon. Then she saw the second man appear behind him, something flashing in his hand.
Victor went down.
No, Emma tried to scream, but the word wouldn't come. The world tilted as they dragged her toward the van. She caught a glimpse of faces in Rizzo's window, Rosa, her hands flying to her mouth in horror. Then darkness swallowed everything. Emma woke to the smell of rust and mildew. Her head pounded, and her mouth tasted like copper. She tried to move and realized her wrists were zip-tied to a metal chair, her ankles bound as well. Panic hit her like ice water. The room was a warehouse, abandoned, judging by the broken windows and graffiti-covered walls. Weak sunlight filtered through the dirt-streaked glass. How long had she been unconscious? Minutes? Hours? She's awake. Emma's head snapped toward the voice. A man in an expensive suit stood near the door, watching her with cold amusement. He was older, maybe 50, with silver hair and eyes like a dead fish. "Emma Clark," he said, approaching slowly. "Do you know who I am?" Emma's throat was too dry to speak. She shook her head. "Matteo Vallone. I'm a business associate of Luca Romano's." "Well, associate might be too friendly a word. Rival is more accurate." He pulled up a crate and sat in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. "You're a very important person, Emma. Do you know why?" "Let me go," Emma managed, her voice cracking.
"In time.
First, we need to make a little video for your boyfriend." Matteo pulled out his phone. "Don't worry, we won't hurt you. Not yet. Luca needs to see you alive and frightened, so he understands we're serious." "Luca will kill you," Emma said, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. Matteo laughed. "That's what I'm counting on. You see, Luca has been trying to go legitimate, trying to play nice with the law, trying to be something he's not. It's made him weak. But you've made him weaker.
He cares about you.
Maybe even loves you. And in our world, love is the most dangerous weakness of all." The door opened, and Emma's heart nearly stopped. Ryan walked in. He looked terrible, unshaven, hollow-eyed, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. When he saw Emma tied to the chair, something crumbled in his expression. He whispered. "You," Emma breathed, realization crashing over her. "You did this. You told them about me." Ryan couldn't meet her eyes. I wanted you back. I didn't think they'd." "Shut up," Matteo said pleasantly. "Your usefulness has ended, Mr. Mitchell. You gave us information about Emma's routines, her habits, her relationship with Romano. For that, we paid you. But now—" He gestured to his men. "Now you're a liability." Two large men grabbed Ryan by the arms. His eyes went wide with terror. "Wait. We had a deal. The deal was information for money. You were never going to get the girl back, you idiot. Did you really think we'd kidnap her just to hand her over to you?" Matteo's laugh was cruel. "You were a means to an end. And now you're just a loose end." They dragged Ryan toward the door. He struggled, screaming. "Emma."
I'm sorry.
"I didn't know they'd hurt you. I just wanted—" The door slammed shut, cutting off his words. Emma heard muffled sounds outside, shouting, then a sickening thud, then silence. She was shaking now, the reality of her situation sinking in. Ryan had betrayed her to these people, and now Ryan was probably dead. "Now then," Matteo said, turning his attention back to Emma. He held up his phone. "Smile for the camera, sweetheart." Let's show Luca what happens when he tries to leave the family business. Emma stared at the camera, her mind racing. She thought of Luca's promise, I'll keep you safe. She thought of his gentle hands, his patient waiting, his determination to be better than his past. And she thought of something Rosa had said last week. That boy has been alone his whole life. Everyone wants something from him. Power, money, protection. You're the first person who wanted nothing but his company. That makes you dangerous to his enemies, Bella. But it also makes you his greatest strength. Emma lifted her chin, meeting Matteo's camera with defiance instead of fear. Luca, she said, her voice steady despite her terror. Don't give them what they want. I'll be okay. Don't let them win. Matteo lowered the phone, genuinely surprised.
Brave.
Stupid, but brave. Romano doesn't deserve you. You're right, Emma said. He deserves better than having to deal with parasites like you. The slap came fast, snapping her head to the side. Emma tasted blood. That's enough courage for one day, Matteo said, his pleasant tone gone. Get comfortable, Miss Clark. You're going to be here a while. Romano has until midnight to meet our demands. If he doesn't, he smiled. Well, let's just say we have creative ways of making our point. He left, his men following. Emma heard locks sliding into place, multiple deadbolts engaging. She was alone. Emma tested the zip ties, but they were tight, cutting into her skin. The chair was bolted to the floor. The windows were too high and too broken to climb through even if she could free herself. She closed her eyes, fighting back tears. Think, Emma. Think. She'd survived 3 years with Ryan. She'd found the courage to run. She'd trusted Luca when every instinct told her not to trust anyone. She was stronger than she'd ever believed possible. And Luca would come. She knew he would come. She just had to survive until he did. 3 miles away, Luca Romano stood in an abandoned lot, staring at his phone. Victor was in the hospital, with a concussion. The grocery bags were still scattered on the sidewalk. And the video that had just arrived showed Emma, his Emma, tied to a chair, blood on her lip, defiance in her eyes. Don't give them what they want. I'll be okay. Don't let them win. Marco stood beside him, silent, waiting. Find them, Luca said, his voice empty of emotion, the kind of empty that came before an explosion. I don't care what it takes. Find them. Now. Boss, Morrison says the raids are ready. Federal agents are positioning outside every Valone property. We hit them all at once in 3 hours, they'll. 3 hours is too long. Luca's hands were shaking, with rage, with fear, with the knowledge that every second Emma was with the Valones was a second she was in danger. She told me not to give them what they want. She's protecting me even now. Do you understand what that means? It means she loves you. It means I found someone worth dying for. Luca looked at Marco. And if they hurt her, if they touch one hair on her head, I will end the Valone family. I will erase them from existence. I will make them wish they'd never heard my name. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. TikTok, Romano. Midnight deadline. Make your choice. Your empire or your girl. Luca typed back. You just made the last mistake of your life. The war was no longer coming. It had arrived. Luca Romano stood in his office, surrounded by his most trusted men. On the table before him lay weapons, guns, tactical gear, everything needed for a full-scale assault. His father's way. The old way. Marco watched him carefully. We have 20 men ready. Say the word, and we go in heavy. Extract Emma. Eliminate the Valones. It's what your father would have done. Lucas stared at the guns, his hands clenched into fists. Every instinct screamed at him to grab a weapon and tear through the Valones until he found Emma. To paint the city red until she was safe in his arms again. But then he heard her voice in his head. Don't give them what they want. Don't let them win. No, Lucas said quietly. Boss. My father's way got him killed. It got good people killed. It kept this city bleeding for 40 years. Luca looked up, his eyes clear. Emma told me not to let them win. If I go in shooting, even if I get her out, the Valones win. They prove I'm still the monster my father raised. They prove I can't escape the violence. Then what do we do? Marco asked. We can't just wait for the feds. Emma could be. We use our heads instead of our guns. Luca pulled out his phone and dialed Detective Morrison. She answered immediately.
Romano.
Tell me you have something. Everything. Names, locations, evidence of every illegal operation the Valones run. Trafficking routes, money laundering, bribed officials. I'm sending it all to you now. There was a pause. You understand what you're doing? Once you cooperate with law enforcement, every family in Chicago will know. You'll be marked. I don't care about the families anymore. I care about one person. Luca's voice was steel. The Valones took Emma Clark. They're holding her somewhere, and I need you to find her before they hurt her.
Can you do that?
How long ago was she taken? 2 hours. Then she's still alive. They'll keep her alive as leverage. We have time. Morrison's tone shifted to all business. Send me everything you have. I'll coordinate with the FBI. We'll hit every Valone property simultaneously. They won't know which operation to protect. In the chaos, they'll make mistakes. And Emma? We'll find her. I promise you that. Morrison paused. This is the right choice, Romano. Your father ruled through fear. You can rule through justice. I don't want to rule anything, Luca said. I just want her back. After hanging up, Luca began the process that would destroy his father's legacy forever. He opened encrypted files he'd been building for 2 years, evidence of every crime, every deal, every dirty secret in Chicago's underworld. And he sent it all to Detective Morrison. Marco watched the data transfer with wide eyes. Boss, that's not just Valone information. That's Romano information too. Our old operations, our past deals. I know what it is. I kept evidence on everyone, including myself, as insurance. Now it's all going to the police. Luca's jaw set. I'm not going legitimate halfway, Marco. I'm burning the entire bridge behind me. After today, I'm either a free man or I'm in prison. But either way, the Romano criminal empire ends. Your father. My father is dead, and his world dies with him. Luca stood. But we're not just sitting here waiting. We're going to find Emma ourselves. Get our intelligence network activated. Every informant, every contact, every camera we have access to. The Valones have to be holding her somewhere in their territory. Marco nodded and pulled out his phone, barking orders. Within minutes, Luca's remaining network was mobilized, not for war, but for information. An hour later, one of Luca's tech specialists burst into the office. Boss, I found something. The Valones own a shell company, West Side Storage Solutions. They use it for warehousing stolen goods. There's a location on the docks that's been off their regular rotation. No scheduled deliveries, no workers clocked in, but the power's been on all day. Luca was already grabbing his coat. That's it. That's where they have her. I'll call Morrison, Marco said.
Do it.
But we're going now. I won't wait for bureaucracy. While Emma's in danger, Luca turned to his men. No weapons. We're not storming in like thugs. We're going to surveil, confirm Emma's location, and feed it to the feds. This gets done clean.
Marco Gesetatif.
And if the Valones spot us, then we adapt. But we don't fire first. Not this time. 20 minutes later, Luca and Marco sat in an unmarked car 2 blocks from the warehouse. Through binoculars, Luca could see 2 guards at the entrance, another patrolling the perimeter. The building was old, industrial, with few windows, the perfect place to hide someone. Thermal imaging shows 3 heat signatures inside, the tech specialist reported through their earpiece. 1 stationary, probably Emma. 2 moving guards. Where's Valone? Not here. Our sources say he's at his estate, waiting for your response to his demands. Luca's phone buzzed. Morrison, FBI en route to your location. ETA 20 minutes. Do not engage. That's an order. Lucas stared at the warehouse. 20 minutes. Emma had been in there for hours. Every instinct told him to go now. To hell with orders. Boss, Marco said carefully, reading his expression. We wait for the feds. That's the plan. The plan doesn't account for... Luca stopped. Through the binoculars, he saw movement. The guards were getting a phone call. Their body language changed, urgent, aggressive. One started running toward the warehouse entrance. Something's wrong, Luca said. They got orders. They're moving now. The tech specialist's voice crackled through the earpiece. Boss, I'm picking up police radio chatter. The FBI raids just started across the city. Every Valone operation is being hit simultaneously. The guards must have been warned. Marco's face went pale. If the Valones know the feds are coming, they'll eliminate evidence. Including Emma, Luca was already out of the car. Call Morrison. Tell her we're going in. Boss, we don't have weapons. I don't need weapons. I need Emma alive. Luca's eyes were hard. You stay here and coordinate with the feds. I'm going in. Luca, this is suicide.
No.
It's the only choice I have. Luca looked at his oldest friend. If something happens to me, make sure Emma knows I kept my promise. I kept her safe, even if it cost me everything. Before Marco could protest further, Luca was moving toward the warehouse, using the shadows and shipping containers for cover. He could hear sirens in the distance. The cavalry was coming. But would they arrive in time? Inside the warehouse, he could hear shouting. An engine starting. They were evacuating. Luca found a side door, rusty, partially open. He slipped inside and immediately smelled gasoline. His blood ran cold. They weren't just evacuating. They were going to burn the evidence. Burn the building. With Emma inside. He moved through the shadows, his heart pounding. Ahead, he could see a figure tied to a chair in the center of the open floor.
Emma.
She was slumped forward, and for one terrible moment, Luca thought she was dead. Then she moved. Relief flooded through him so intensely it almost brought him to his knees. Light it, a voice said. One of the guards was pouring gasoline in a wide circle around Emma's chair. Boss says burn it all. The feds can find ashes. The other guard held a lighter. Luca had seconds to make a choice. He could wait for the FBI, follow the rules, do this the legal way. But Emma would be dead before they arrived. Or he could break his promise to himself and become his father's son one last time. It wasn't really a choice at all. Step away from her, Luca said, walking into the light, his hands raised.
Now.
The guard spun, guns drawn. The one with the lighter's thumb hovered over the ignition. Luca Romano, the guard sneered. Valone said you might try something stupid. Guess he was right. Let her go. This is between me and Matteo. She's innocent. Nobody's innocent. That's what your father used to say, right? The guard grinned. How about this? We let you watch her burn, then we kill you. Tell Valone you died screaming. Emma's head lifted. Her eyes met Luca's, and despite the blood on her face, despite the terror, she smiled. Took you long enough, she whispered. The guard's thumb moved toward the lighter. And Luca charged. Luca hit the guard with the lighter like a freight train, driving him backward into a stack of crates. The lighter flew from his hand, skittering across the concrete floor, away from the gasoline. Thank God. The second guard raised his gun, but Luca was faster than he'd ever been in his life. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted hard, and used the guard's own momentum to slam him face first into a metal support beam. The gun clattered away. Behind him, Luca heard sirens, close now, maybe a block away. Emma, he rushed to her chair, pulling a knife from his pocket to cut the zip ties. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm okay, she said, her voice hoarse. But Luca could see the bruises forming on her face, the blood dried on her lip. White-hot rage flooded through him. I'm going to kill them, he said, cutting through the last restraint. I'm going to. Luca, Emma grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Get me out of here. That's what matters. Just get me out. The building's side door burst open. FBI agents flooded in, tactical gear and rifles raised. Hands where we can see them.
Now.
Luca raised his hand slowly, stepping in front of Emma. She's the victim. Emma Clark, the woman they kidnapped. Detective Morrison pushed through the agents, her eyes taking in the scene. The gasoline, the unconscious guards, Emma trembling in the chair, and Lucas standing between her and everyone else. "Get her to the paramedics," Morrison ordered. "And someone cuff those two," she looked at Luca. "You couldn't wait 20 minutes?" They were going to burn her alive. Morrison's expression softened slightly.
Yeah.
"I can see that," she gestured toward the door. "Get out of here, Romano. Take her somewhere safe. We'll need statements later, but for now, just go." "What about the Vallones?" Every location simultaneously raided. Matteo Vallone is in federal custody, along with 15 of his top people. "We found everything you said we'd find. Trafficking victims, drugs, weapons, financial records." "The Vallone organization is done," Morrison paused. "And Romano? Your cooperation won't be forgotten. You just took down the biggest crime family in Chicago. The DA might have questions for you, but I'll make sure they know you helped save lives today." Luca nodded, then turned to Emma. "Can you walk?" "With your help." He lifted her carefully, and she wrapped her arms around his neck. As they walked out of the warehouse into the flashing lights and chaos, Emma pressed her face against his chest. "You came," she whispered. "Always," Luca replied. "I'll always come for you." Emma woke slowly, sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, panic seized her. Where was she? Then the memories flooded back. The warehouse. The gasoline. Luca charging in like an avenging angel. She was in a massive bed, softer than clouds, wearing clean pajamas that weren't hers. Through the windows, she could see manicured gardens and, in the distance, a stone wall with security gates. The door opened quietly and Luca appeared, carrying a tray with tea and toast. When he saw she was awake, relief washed over his face. "Hey," he said softly. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got kidnapped by mobsters." Emma tried to smile but winced. Her lip was split. "Where am I?" "My villa. Outside the city. It's secure. Nobody gets in without passing through 3 checkpoints." And Marco's paranoia. Luca set the tray on the bedside table and sat carefully on the edge of the bed. "The doctor checked you over last night. You were exhausted and dehydrated, but nothing broken. The bruises will heal." Emma touched her face gently. "I don't really remember getting here. You fell asleep in the car. You were safe, so your body finally let you rest." Luca's hand hovered near hers, wanting to touch but not presuming. "Emma, I need to tell you something. Everything. And then you need to decide if you want any part of this life."
Luca. Please.
"Let me say this." He took a deep breath. "My name is Luca Romano. My father was Antonio Romano. You might have heard of him. He controlled half of Chicago's illegal operations for 30 years. Drugs, gambling, extortion, worse things I won't say out loud. When he died, I inherited all of it. I was 28 years old, and suddenly I was responsible for an empire built on blood." Emma listened, her hand finding his and holding tight. "For 6 years, I did what was expected. I ran the family business. I made decisions that hurt people. I looked the other way when things happened that I knew were wrong because that's what my father would have done, and I thought that's what being strong meant." Luca's voice cracked. "But 2 years ago, my sister, she wanted out. She wanted to go to college, have a normal life. And one of my father's old associates tried to use her as leverage against me. Tried to hurt her to keep me in line. What did you do?" "I made him disappear.
Permanently."
And then I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'd become exactly what my father was. A man who solved problems with violence. A man people feared instead of respected. A man who would die alone because everyone around him either wanted something or was terrified of him." "So, you decided to change." "I decided to try. I started selling off illegal operations, investing in legitimate businesses, building something that didn't require breaking the law or breaking people. It wasn't easy. Families like the Vallones saw it as weakness. But I kept going because I wanted to be more than my father's shadow." Luca looked at Emma, his eyes raw with emotion. "And then I met you. At the train station. At the train station. And for the first time in my entire life, someone looked at me and saw a person instead of a name. You trusted me when you had no reason to trust anyone. You let me help you without asking what I wanted in return. You made me feel like maybe I could actually be the man I was trying to become. Emma squeezed his hand.
Luca.
The Valones took you because of me. Because they knew you were important to me, and they wanted to use you as a weapon. Ryan betrayed you to them, because I stepped between you and him that night. Everything that happened, you getting kidnapped, hurt, terrorized, it's all my fault. Stop, Emma's voice was firm. Ryan made his own choices. The Valones made theirs. You didn't make them hurt me. You're the only reason I'm alive. If you hadn't found me, hadn't come when you did. I gave the FBI everything, Luca continued, needing to say it all. Every file, every piece of evidence, every connection I had. I destroyed my father's empire in one night. Some of that evidence could put me in prison too, deals I made, things I did before I started going legitimate. I don't know what's going to happen to me legally, but I know that I chose you over everything else. And I'd make that choice again. Emma pulled him closer. What happened to the Valones? Matteo and his top people are in federal custody. The organization is finished. The FBI found trafficking victims, enough evidence to put them away for life. It's over. And Ryan? Luca's jaw tightened. The Valones killed him, used him for information, and then eliminated him as a liability.
I'm sorry, Emma.
I know he hurt you, but nothing. He made his choice too. He traded me to dangerous people for revenge and money, and it cost him everything. Emma's eyes were sad but clear. I don't wish death on anyone, but I can't mourn him either. Not after what he did. They sat in silence for a moment, hands intertwined. So, where does this leave us? Emma asked quietly. That depends on you. I'm trying to be completely legitimate now. No more illegal operations. No more gray areas. Just business, legal business. But my past doesn't disappear. There will always be people who remember who my father was, who I was. There will always be some danger. Luca met her eyes. I can set you up with a new life. New city, new identity if you want. Money to start fresh. You can walk away from all of this, from me, and be safe. Is that what you want? God, no. I want you to stay. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're safe and happy. I want to build something good with you, something that has nothing to do with my past. But Emma, I can't ask you to tie your life to mine. Not after everything that's happened. Emma touched his face gently, her thumb tracing the scar on his jaw. You saved me twice now. Once from Ryan, once from the Valones. Maybe it's time someone saved you from yourself. What does that mean? It means I'm not running. Not from you, not from this. You're trying to be better, Luca. I see that. And I want to help you get there. She smiled despite the split lip. Besides, Rosa would never forgive me if I left. She's already planning our wedding. Luca laughed, a genuine, relieved laugh that made him look 10 years younger. She told me the same thing yesterday. Then I guess we can't disappoint her. He leaned his forehead against hers, careful of her bruises. I love you, Emma Clark. I don't know when it happened or how, but I do. And I promise you, I will spend every day trying to be worthy of that. You already are, Emma whispered. You already are. Outside, the sun climbed higher in the sky, and in the distance, Chicago glittered with possibility and promise. The darkness was finally lifting. The next 2 months felt like living through an earthquake, constant aftershocks, nothing stable, everything shifting beneath their feet. Emma watched the news obsessively those first few weeks. The Valone arrests dominated every channel. Matteo Valone, let out of his estate in handcuffs, his face a mask of rage. His associates, rounded up across the city, like a coordinated harvest. Federal prosecutors announced charges: human trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, corruption of public officials. They found 12 trafficked women in a Valone warehouse, Detective Morrison told Emma during her witness statement. From Eastern Europe, promised jobs, and kept as slaves. Because of your kidnapping, because of the raids it triggered, those women are free now. You helped save them, Emma.
Emma hadn't thought of it that way.
She'd just been trying to survive. But knowing her nightmare had ended others gave her something to hold onto during the long nights when she still woke up sweating, remembering the smell of gasoline. Luca was different now, lighter somehow, but also waiting. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Waiting for federal prosecutors to decide if his cooperation absolved his past crimes or simply delayed their reckoning. They could still charge me, he told Emma one evening as they sat in the villa's library. Conspiracy, racketeering for my father's time. Some of the deals I made before I started transitioning out. Morrison said you saved lives. That has to count for something. It does. But it doesn't erase what I did. Lucas stared into his whiskey glass. I've been meeting with prosecutors, answering questions, giving depositions. They're using my testimony to go after other families, other corrupt officials. But there are no guarantees, Emma. I might still face charges. Emma took his hand. Then we'll face them together. 3 weeks after the raids, the DA held a press conference. Emma and Luca watched it from his office, Marco standing nearby, his hand never far from his phone. Today, I'm announcing the largest organized crime prosecution in Chicago history, the DA said, her voice strong. Thanks to the cooperation of a confidential informant, we have dismantled the Valone criminal organization and secured indictments against 47 individuals involved in trafficking, corruption, and violent crimes.
Marco Snortez.
Confidential informant, that's one way to put it. Additionally, the DA continued, we are extending immunity from prosecution to this informant in exchange for their continued cooperation in ongoing investigations. This individual's information has been instrumental in identifying victims, recovering evidence, and preventing future crimes. Luca's entire body relaxed. Emma felt tears spring to her eyes. Immunity, he breathed. They're giving me immunity. Marco let out a whoop and grabbed Luca in a bear hug. You did it, boss. You actually did it. But Luca was looking at Emma, his eyes bright. We did it. You gave me a reason to try. The DA wasn't finished. Let me be clear, this is not absolution. This is recognition that sometimes, in pursuit of justice, we must work with those who have knowledge of criminal enterprises. This individual has shown genuine commitment to reform and has risked their life to help us protect others. That matters. Over the following weeks, the dominoes continued to fall. 3 city councilmen resigned in disgrace. A state senator was indicted. The deputy chief of police took early retirement. The corruption went deeper than anyone had imagined, and Luca's files had exposed it all. You've made enemies, Marco warned one afternoon. The families we didn't touch directly, they're watching, waiting to see if you're vulnerable. Let them watch, Luca said. He was standing in what used to be his father's office, now stripped of all the old mob memorabilia. In its place were legitimate business documents, charity foundation paperwork, architectural plans for rehabilitation projects. I'm not my father. I don't rule through fear anymore. Some of the old crew are bitter. They think you betrayed the life. I did betray it. That was the point. Luca turned to his oldest friend. Marco, I need to know, are you okay with all this? The changes, the legitimacy, the cooperation with law enforcement. If you're not, I understand. I can help you transition somewhere else, set you up with. Stop, Marco shook his head. I followed your father because I had no choice. I follow you because I choose to. And honestly, I sleep better now than I have in 20 years. My daughter asked me what I do for work last week, and I could tell her the truth. Do you know what that feels like? To not have to lie to my own kid.
Luca smiled. Yeah.
I'm starting to understand. Emma threw herself into her work at the nonprofit. The shelter for domestic violence survivors, Haven House, was finally opening, funded by the Romano Foundation. It was a beautiful 3-story brownstone in a safe neighborhood, with security systems, counseling services, legal aid, and job training programs. Rosa had been instrumental in setting it up, somehow convincing half the Italian community to donate time, money, and resources. That girl has a good heart, she told anyone who would listen. And my Luca has finally found someone who sees him for real. The day before the grand opening, Emma walked through the empty building with Luca, imagining it filled with women finding their courage, rebuilding their lives. This is what it was all for, Emma said softly. Every risk you took, every bridge you burned, it leads here. To something good. It leads to you, Luca corrected. This building, the foundation, the legitimacy. None of it means anything without you. Emma turned to him. Do you regret it? Giving everything up? I didn't give everything up. I traded darkness for light. I traded fear for love. I traded my father's legacy for a future I choose. He pulled her close. The only thing I regret is that I didn't find you sooner. A noise at the door made them turn. Detective Morrison stood in the entrance, her expression serious. Sorry to interrupt, she said. But I thought you'd want to know, the Valone trial date is set. 6 months from now. Matteo's lawyers are pushing for a plea deal, but the prosecution isn't offering one. With the evidence you provided, this is going to trial, and it's going to be very public.
Luca nodded.
Will Emma need to testify? Probably. Her kidnapping is central to the conspiracy charges. Morrison looked at Emma. I know it won't be easy, facing all of this again. But your testimony could help ensure Matteo never sees daylight again. I'll do it, Emma said without hesitation. Whatever it takes to make sure he can't hurt anyone else. After Morrison left, Luca held Emma as she shook, not from fear, but from the weight of it all finally hitting her. 6 months ago, she'd been running from Ryan, terrified and alone. Now she was preparing to testify against a mob boss, opening a shelter, building a life with a man who'd turned his entire world upside down for her. We're going to be okay, Luca murmured into her hair. The Valones are finished. The old families are dying out. We're building something new. Together, Emma added. Together. That night, across the city, Ryan Mitchell's mother sat alone in her small apartment, staring at a police report that listed her son as deceased, murder victim. The detective had been sympathetic but clear. Ryan had gotten involved with dangerous people, had betrayed someone to criminals, had paid the ultimate price for his choices. She'd always known her son had problems with anger, with control. She'd made excuses, looked the other way, told herself he'd grow out of it. Now he was gone, and a young woman she'd never met was alive because her son's plans had failed. She should hate that woman, should blame her for Ryan's death. Instead, she just felt tired, and she said a prayer that wherever Emma Clark was now, she was safe and happy. Because at least someone should get a second chance. At least someone should get to choose happiness over fear. The Valone Empire had fallen. The Romano criminal legacy was ending. And from the ashes, something new was beginning to grow. 6 months later, Emma stood on the front steps of Haven House, watching the evening sun paint the brownstone in shades of gold. Inside, 12 women were finding their courage, some just arrived, others preparing to move into their own apartments. Each one a survivor. Each one choosing to rebuild. The sign above the door gleamed. Haven House, a safe place for new beginnings. Rosa appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on her apron. She'd been teaching cooking classes to the residents, insisting that knowing how to feed yourself was the first step to independence. Bella, you work too hard, Rosa scolded gently. It's almost 7. Go home. That boy of yours is probably pacing holes in the floor waiting for you. Emma smiled. That boy was currently in a board meeting, finalizing the purchase of another building for a second Haven House location. The Romano Foundation had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. Job training programs, scholarship funds, rehabilitation projects in struggling neighborhoods. 5 more minutes, Emma promised. I just need to. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss me? Emma's blood ran cold. The number was different, but she recognized the pattern. Ryan used to text her from burner phones when she'd block him. But Ryan was dead. The police had confirmed it. She'd seen the death certificate. Another text. Did you really think you could forget me? I'm always watching, Always. Her hands trembled. This couldn't be real. Ryan was gone. But the text kept coming, you look happy. That won't last. It never does with you. The front door opened behind her. Luca stood there, concern immediate on his face. Emma, what's wrong? She showed him the phone, her voice small. It's him. It's Ryan. But he's dead. Luca's voice was firm. He took the phone, his expression darkening as he read the messages. Then, understanding crossed his face. It's not him. Someone's using his old tactics. Probably someone who knew him, knew how he operated. But who would? Someone who wants to scare you. To remind you that you're not safe. Luca's jaw tightened. Let me handle this. No, Emma's voice was stronger now. She'd been here before, someone trying to control her through fear. She'd run once. She'd hidden once. She wouldn't do it again. Give me the phone. Luca handed it to her, watching carefully. Emma blocked the number, then deleted every message. Her fingers were steady now, certain. What are you doing? Luca asked. I'm choosing not to be afraid. Emma looked up at him. Whoever that was, they want me scared, hiding, looking over my shoulder. But I'm not that person anymore. I don't run. I don't hide. I walk forward. Luca's expression softened into something that looked like pride and love mixed together. You're sure? I'm sure. Emma took his hand. You taught me that. The night at the station, you didn't run from Ryan. You stepped between us. You showed me what it looks like to face fear instead of running from it. Emma, you don't hide anymore, she said, echoing words he'd once said to her. And neither do I. We walk forward, together, into whatever comes next. The first drops of rain began to fall, that same Chicago rain that had been falling the night they met. Emma looked up at the sky and laughed. It's raining again, she said. Do you want to go inside? No. Emma stepped off the porch, pulling Luca with her into the rain. I used to hate the rain. It reminded me of running, of fear, of that night at the station when I thought I'd never be free. Luca wrapped his arms around her as the rain picked up. And now it reminds me of the night I met you. The night everything changed. The night I stopped running and started living. She looked up at him, rain streaming down both their faces. You saved me that night, Luca Romano. Not just from Ryan, from a life where I believed I didn't deserve better. You saved me too, Luca said softly, from becoming my father, from a life built on fear and violence. You showed me what it means to be brave, not through fighting, but through choosing hope even when everything tells you to give up. Behind them, through Haven House's windows, Emma could see the residents gathering for dinner, Rosa directing them with loving authority. Families walked past on the sidewalk. Someone laughed from a nearby porch. The city hummed with ordinary life. Beautiful, mundane, peaceful life. The trial starts next week, Emma said. Matteo Vallone and his people will see me testify. The whole city will know my story. Are you scared? Terrified. But I'm doing it anyway, she squeezed his hand. That's what bravery is, right? Being afraid, but moving forward anyway. That's exactly what it is. What about you? Any regrets about going legitimate? About burning down your father's empire? Luca pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. My only regret is every second of my life before I met you. Everything that came before was just prologue. This, us, Haven House, the foundation, building something good. This is the story I want to tell. Emma kissed him then, standing in the rain, letting go of every last shadow of fear. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Come on, Luca said, taking her hand. Let's go home. Wait, Emma turned back toward Haven House one more time, taking in the sight. Warm lights in the windows, safety within its walls, women finding their strength inside. I just want to remember this. This moment. This feeling. What feeling? Peace. Purpose. Belonging. She looked at Luca. Love. We'll have thousands more moments like this, Luca promised. I know. But this one, This is the one where I finally believe it, where I finally trust that I deserve it. They walked together through the rain, not running, not hiding. Just two people who'd found each other in darkness and chosen to walk toward light. Above them, the rain continued to fall on Chicago, washing away old sins and watering new beginnings. And somewhere in the city, Detective Morrison smiled at her computer screen, reading the final report that officially closed the Valone case. Justice served.
Lives saved.
Futures secured. Emma Clark and Luca Romano disappeared into the rain, hand in hand, walking toward whatever tomorrow would bring. Not as a victim and her savior, but as equals, as partners, as two people who'd both found their courage and their purpose in each other. The rain fell, the city lived, and they walked on. Together. The end.